Hi, everyone. I'm Rosemary Miller, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Terrance Williams, the president and CEO of TrueStage. Thank you so much for joining me today, Terrance.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about the opportunity and the dialogue.
Absolutely. So, Terrance, before we dive into you and your past, could you give us a brief overview of what TrueStage is?
Sure, absolutely. TrueStage is a mutual insurance organization that's been around since the 1930s. We were founded in Madison, Wisconsin, under the with the idea of representing and partnering with credit unions to better serve their members. Over the years, while we've evolved, we've grown, we've changed, we've maintained a commitment to the credit union system. So it's
Mhm.
almost 70% revenue is driven through credit unions. So think of us as a B2B company who goes to market through partners to reach end members with financial solutions, insurance products, retirement plans, etc. So we serve over 35 million customers across the United States. We partner with 95+% of credit unions in the United States. We are about $5.5 billion in revenue. And as I said, we're headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, and we have about 4,000 employees across the country that make up our organization.
Oh my goodness. And you said TrueStage has been around since the 1930s. And if I'm not
Right.
mistaken, you are the first Black CEO. It's almost 2030. What are your thoughts on that?
You are correct. I am the first Black CEO of the organization. And it's not something that I take lightly because I recognize that I am here, I'm sitting before you because I have had the benefit of standing on the shoulders of so many people, some I know, some I've known, some I haven't known, that have done courageous things that have paved a pathway for me. So because of that, I take the responsibility seriously of being the first. And fortunately or unfortunately for me, throughout my career, I've been in the insurance industry, in the corporate world for over 30 years. So fortunately or unfortunately, I've been the first on many occasions in different
Mm.
roles that I've sat in with different organizations that I've been in. But I always take the approach that I need to ensure that I'm doing my part to set the bar and doing my part to ensure that I'm making a difference and representing who I am as a Black man and as someone who cares deeply about those who are visibly seeing me and those who are engaging with me in the communities that I live and work in. So that's kind of how I tend to think about this.
So you said you've been the first quite a bit in your journey. Could you tell us about your professional journey?
Yes. Um, I'll give you the short version of my journey because we don't want to take 3 or 4 hours to give you the extended version of it. So, no, I'm a native Southerner, so born and raised outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm one of those unique people who I am working in my chosen profession. So I attended the University of South Carolina, and I went there to pursue a degree in risk management and insurance. So I made a decision at a relatively early age that I wanted to pursue a career in this path. Since leaving the University of South Carolina, TrueStage is the fourth company that I've worked for. So I haven't worked for a lot of different companies, but I've worked in a lot of different roles. The bulk of my experience has been with some brands and insurance companies that you would recognize. Nationwide Insurance in Ohio. I spent 20 plus years with them. Allstate Insurance in Chicago, spent a number of years with them, and now TrueStage. So during that 30 plus years, I think my wife and I have moved about 8 or 9 times. So we've lived all over the country. And it's really given me the benefit of seeing different perspectives, different geographies, understanding how things work in different markets. And I've operated in a number of different roles, claims, sales, product, general management roles, et cetera. So I've had a fruitful career and one that I actually am proud of, but also one that I feel it also kind of provides a responsibility for me to
Mhm.
ensure that I am doing my part to bring others along. One of the passions I have is trying to expose younger people, particularly younger people who look like me, to our industry, to the insurance industries. I don't think we've done enough to ensure that we are recruiting and engaging and dialoguing with young people, especially people of color, to introduce them to just the many aspects of a career in the insurance industry. So I spend quite a bit of time doing that when I can.
And so, how exactly are you doing that?
A number of different things. I'm pretty engaged at the University of South Carolina with the business school. I'm back on campus there a few times a year. I literally get into the classroom to be able to speak with students. I'm involved in a number of mentoring programs, including one there through the business school where I mentor an undergrad. So once a semester, I get a new student who I just engage with every other week. I engage with this person for 30 minutes and just to share my perspectives, to offer opinions, to hear things that are on their minds. So mentoring is something that's always been important to me, and I try to live out that approach through the school that I went to, that I have a passion around. And I do that because as I grew up corporately, I was able to benefit from others who kind of wrap their arms around my shoulder to say, Terrance, consider this approach, consider this way, etc. I'm blessed in that I grew up in a two-parent home. My mom and dad instilled a number of things in me that I'm forever grateful for. Work ethic, integrity, the importance of community, etc. But my mom and dad, they weren't familiar with the corporate world. My dad was a construction worker. My mom taught elementary school, so they weren't able to kind of share with me the process, the approach, the journey that one takes when they're pursuing a career corporately. So I benefited from others who were able to provide assistance to me in coaching and mentoring. So I do the same for others.
So, what tips do you have for young people for navigating the corporate world?
That's a short question, but a really complex one, particularly in today's world. But my advice is always pretty consistent in this space. A few things. Number one, ensure that you are doing something that provides you fulfillment. I often say that if you're engaged in a career or in a role that is a job more than a career, that probably is not something that is long term. Number two, you should ensure that you're gaining some level of fulfillment. If you're driving to the office or you're rolling out of bed and going into a Zoom call and you're gripping your coffee cup because you really don't want to do that job, you don't enjoy it, or you're driving into an office and you're gripping the steering wheel, that's not a good thing. So obviously it's work, but you should gain some level of satisfaction or fulfillment from what you do, which means you should choose a career that aligns with a personal passion for you overall. And then the next couple of items, 3 and 4, are just kind of some basic tenets that apply to anyone. Ensure that you're operating with a high degree of integrity. Ensure that you are always focused on delivering and exceeding the expectations that are put before you, things of that nature. So that's kind of what I talk to young people about as they're pursuing their corporate paths.
Yeah, honestly, you're helping me out right now. Thank you, Terrance. So let's pivot back to TrueStage a bit. So you and I both understand the importance of DEI. What attracted you to TrueStage in that respect?
I've been asked that question a lot in the last year because I started with TrueStage last year to assume this role. And one of the most often asked questions that I've received is, why TrueStage? And there are a number of kind of facets of that as you peel it back, but I'll give you just a couple of examples of why I'm sitting here before you now as the CEO of this organization. I've been in the industry long enough to recognize that what I do and who I engage with from a professional standpoint, there has to be some level of alignment for me personally. So in other words, said another way, the things that I am passionate about, the things that I care about deeply, I want to ensure that I am working somewhere where I can pursue those passions through my professional work and walk, and it aligns with me personally. So the examples here, I have always been passionate about community. Making sure that I'm involved, that I'm engaged, I'm finding ways to make a difference. I talk a lot about the importance of betterment in communities. So whether the company I've worked with is engaged in it or not, I've always been engaged. When I started looking at TrueStage, what I learned was this commitment around community. Particularly in the Madison market where we're based, the brand has an incredible reputation for being a good corporate citizen, someone who is engaged and active, not just writing a check, by the way, writing a check, but also being committed and trying to make a difference and drive change within the marketplace. The other one for me was DEI. I've long held this belief that corporate entities should play a massive role in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it was important for me that I aligned with an organization who has that same approach, that same thinking, that same passion. And one of the first things I did when I started talking to TrueStage, I went to their website to get a feel for who this company is. I knew of them, of course, being in the industry, but I went to the website and I was blown away by some of the items on the website about their commitment to social change and their desire to be a force for good, and the efforts that were underway as it relates to DE&I. And those things spoke to me personally and professionally, and that kind of led me down this path, and here I sit before you now. There were some other things as well, but those are two that I would share with you that really kind of created the alignment that led me to this organization.
So, what does DEI really mean for the financial industry? I mean, more specifically, the insurance industry.
That's a really interesting question. So let me try to do it this way. So if you look at the history of my industry, the insurance and financial services industry, there are things that occurred in this industry that have flown in the face of what how I would describe as equitable treatment of others. If you think about the practices of redlining, of not allowing or providing insurance in a given territory based on a map, or if you think of charging one price for this person, but someone who is of the same age, same health conditions, et cetera, but charging them more because of their race. So my industry that I'm proud to be part of hasn't always gotten this right. So my belief is that DE&I and the financial services space now really requires that we are doing our best to remedy the wrongs of the past, that we are ensuring that we reflect the marketplace, that we're making broad decisions for the betterment of communities, that we are trying to make a difference societally, and that we are doing so with a lens towards trying to help improve the lives of others. Insurance, at the end of the day, we don't do a good job of talking about what insurance really is in our industry. Mm-hmm. But if you really peel it all the way back, all we sell is a promise. Think about it. We sell something that is not tangible. You can't drive it, wear it, touch it. It's a promise. It's a promise that allows you to have some level of peace of mind in the case of an unexpected incident or something that occurs that couldn't have been planned, that it allows you to continue forward financially. I often make the comment that, what do? We do our best to restore lives to the degree money and caring can. So if that's all we do, it's really important that we are broadly ensuring that we're supporting and serving all people, and that we are providing a means of transfer of risk, not based on what they look like, but rather really trying to ensure that we represent the marketplace and that we're a force for good. So longer winded than I intended to, but it really is something that I think we have a huge responsibility to ensure that we are acknowledging the wrongs of the past, because some people don't want to acknowledge it. And I often say, well, yeah, we did things in the past that really weren't appropriate. But what do we do going forward? And I believe I can play a role in ensuring that we are not just righting the wrongs of the past, that we are paving a pathway for the future by ensuring that we are representing the marketplace, that we are trying to play a role in helping others. And, we didn't get into this earlier. Our primary customer base at TrueStage is what we call middle market America. Our target customer tends to be the individual, the hardworking person who may earn, middle income in the United States, who may not have assets that allow them to do some of the things that some other financial institutions pursue. So we really want to ensure that we are doing things to provide value, to provide ease and access for people who may not always have that.
Wow. No, that is a beautiful answer for one. I don't care how long-winded. That's a great answer.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, Terrance, how does DEI play into your leadership philosophy and experience so far at TrueStage, particularly as their first person of color to lead the company?
That it's who I am. So I can't separate who I am as a black man who was born and raised in South Carolina, who attended public schools, who son of an educator and a construction worker. So who I am comes through naturally in my authentic leadership style and approach.
Yeah.
So DE&I to me means that you show up as your authentic self, that we are creating an environment where everyone can not just show up as they wish to, but that we can engage in a manner that allows you to feel comfortable, that we are able to demonstrate a commitment to the differences that make us unique, that we are able to kind of share and focus on not just creating division based on the differences, but that we can find ways to celebrate those differences and make sure that everyone understands that it drives us to the most optimal outcome. I often make the comment, kind of tongue in cheek, that if everyone around my leadership table, if everyone that reports to me, if I have 10 people on my cabinet that report to me, and they were all 6'4", person of color, Southerner by birth, son of an educator, they all would likely think very similarly to me. But it's important that we have a broad diversity of thought, background, perspectives to ensure that you get to the best possible solution. Because I encourage debate within the leadership team. I encourage debate and I foster an environment that allow us to have really fruitful dialogue to get to the best solution. And it requires that we have different backgrounds and perspectives. So how do I kind of foster D&I at TrueStage? I show up as me. I make sure that I'm really conveying my passion in this space. Also ensure that everyone understands that while the company began to be well before me, under my leadership, we will continue to advance and accelerate our efforts from a D&I standpoint.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Terrance.
Oh, you're too gracious. Thank you.
Absolutely.